train to the Plastic Underground. Approaching the station, please stand away from the Platinum Edge. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Plastic Underground. So I just got back last week from a little trip. While we were down there, we went to Galaxy's Edge, and then I had this realization that I usually put my videos out on Thursday, and this coming Thursday is May 4th. So I had to switch up a couple things I had planned. Some videos I had already made that I was going to release, but I had to do something Star Wars. So down there, one of the things that I did this time that was new was they had this new coffee stand. They had this little coffee stand that had like Cocoa Puffs on it, iced coffee. It was pretty good. But the thing that I noticed too is like walking around the marketplace, is every little marketplace has like these little signs. And I took a picture of one of the signs, and I thought that'd be kind of cool to make. So here's what I made. I made this little Galaxy's Edge sign, and they're all different. The blue part, they're all like slightly different. So this is the one that was right by the Black Calf iced coffee stand. So this is I'm calling this the coffee sign. So yeah, let me show you how I made it. It's all foam. And I used a couple new techniques for like weathering to get this like actual like crusty rust. It's just literally just some household like salt and paint mixed together. So I'll show you guys how I made that, and I got patterns and stuff for you too if you guys want to make your own coffee sign. And I hope you like the video, and I'll show you how I made it. Alright, so starting off here, I am casting this picture I took at Galaxy's Edge to my TV in the shop, and just kind of scaling that up to fit on this piece of tracing paper. And I didn't take a measurement while I was there because I didn't have a measuring tool, but kind of eyeballing it. It's not like a huge sign, and I think the size is pretty close. So so yeah, this is just a sheet of tracing paper, and I got my pattern from that. You guys have seen me do that before. And so now I can go through with the base piece here. The bottom of the sign is two pieces of 2mm What the Foam glued together to make a 4mm base piece. So you can see I drew my pattern on that top piece and then marked where that needed to be glued. And I just kind of pressed that firmly together, just to make sure that it's all glued. Then I go through with my X-Acto knife here, and I'm just tracing the base shape out first, the circular shape. Then I go back through and I cut out the little indentations on the top and bottom. And that's it for the base. It's thick enough, it gives you enough rigidity to kind of hold everything together. So now this top part here, this is all 6mm foam. You can probably use 5mm foam too, but I had some 6 laying around, and I wanted to use that. So same thing, just trace that out, and I go through and I cut it all out with the X-Acto knife. So that is the top piece there, bottom and top piece. That's like pretty much it for the base of the sign. This is kind of a fun project because it is quick and not really a lot to it. Pretty simple shapes to cut. So now here on some 2mm foam here, I drew out all of the actual like sign logos that go on top, and I just go through and I cut those all out of this 2mm HD foam. So then now I'm using this piece of copper piping. I just use my file to sharpen the inside of it, and then you can literally just twist and push that down and it'll cut out a perfect sphere. So I'm using this to make those rivets. They're more like hexagonal screws that go on the top and bottom. So I heat them up, and then I take this Allen wrench that I have, the biggest one I could find that would fit on this circle, and I'm just going to heat that up too. I thought if I heated these up enough I could kind of like melt the shape in, but I ended up wanting them to be a little bit deeper. So I just kind of did this to like mark the shape on the circle there, and then I ended up just cutting the shape deeper in eventually anyway. But this works pretty good for just kind of like showing you the shape, the outline, and where it needs to be. And this would work fine for like just a regular screw, because it doesn't need to be deep, but these ones were actually like a deep set, like an Allen key. So I mark on top of this piece here the center, and I just kind of line up all the stuff on top to like where I think it looks good. Try to get it centered, and then I just trace them on with a pencil, just so I know where to glue. And the same thing for these little these 3 dots at the bottom here. Then I also mark the top piece to the bottom piece. I go through with a pen, mark out where that needs to get glued. So here I'm actually using the X-Acto knife, and I'm cutting straight down all of these lines here from the Allen key, and I just cut each side of that like hexagon shape. Then I use this pair of pliers and just pull and twist the inside out. And that's pretty much it for those. Then I can glue the sign together using contact cement for this. Just kind of slowly putting it down, making sure that the lines line up and it looks even all the way around. Then using just a little bit of super glue here, I glue the top part on, the actual sign logos, with just a little bit of super glue. I like using super glue for like small detail pieces and like thin detail. The contact cement works great for like holding stuff together very well, but in this case here you don't really need these to be like super strong. They're not under any like tension or pressure, so just a little bit of super glue will hold these on there. Now I go around and I glue all those little Allen screws on. I think these are supposed to be like long threaded like bolts that it looks like they're supposed to look like this is what actually holds the sign into like the rock like walls around the marketplace there. Like you actually had to like drill the hole in the wall. So now for painting, I did 2 coats of black Plasti Dip just to seal all the foam. And then on top I'm just using this white primer. And yeah, I found that this stuff works really good for... so the top part of the sign is like a white. Obviously it's weathered and it looks cream. But to get this good white color, primer always works the best. Just a base flat primer. And you can see just 1 coat of that, how well that actually covers the plastic Plasti Dip. So now I go through and I make up some brown and some red, trying to make like a dark red for the base of the sign. And I just go through and I carefully paint that all on the base of the sign, making sure to get a nice clean line against where the thick part sits on top. Then I go through and I paint the edges as well. And I do 2 coats of this paint, this color. Let it dry, and then I do another coat on top. Now, for the actual lettering, I'm using this. I think this is just turquoise. I think it's not really a turquoise, but I think that's what it was called. It's just a light blue, really. So I take a small brush and I go around first, and I paint all of the edges by hand with try to use a steady hand and go slow, and I paint all of the edges just to make it have like a crisp line against the white background. And I do that first, and then I go through on top with a little bit of a wider brush, and I just kind of am brushing that on the top. And did 2 coats of this as well, just to give it a solid paint job, just so it wasn't like streaky or you could see brush strokes. You don't have to get crazy because you're gonna weather this anyway, but I always like to try to start off with a good base coat of color, and obviously do the same thing with those little 3 dots at the bottom. Then I go in with some silver, some Model Masters silver, and I'm just painting these bolts. I paint all 4 of those silver, and then I can go in with the weathering. This is just some brown and some tan paint mixed together with some water, and I just brush it on the entire surface of the sign. I get the whole sign covered before I start to like wipe any of it off. Really trying to let that paint soak into the white, just to kind of stain the white. Then I can take my rag, and I'm not wiping the paint off, I'm dabbing the paint off. This helps you not get like streak marks, and it's more of a natural like weather when you like dab it away. And it also kind of leaves a little bit of a texture too from the rag. Then the next layer of weathering, I mix up some more like water, and I'm just focusing now on like the top part. You can see I'm holding the sign vertically. That way when I put the paint mixture on the top, it will naturally run down. These signs are, bolted into the wall, so like rain and all that stuff is gonna sit on top, and all of the rust and stuff is gonna leak downwards. So if you do that and it's too heavy, more heavy than you like, just kind of dab a little bit of it away. But you can see how it still leaves those nice streak lines. And then when that's dry, I go in with some brown paint and some more of the same kind of color I mixed up for the wash. But now I don't add water, and I'm trying this new technique here. This is just some regular salt from the cupboard here, and just kind of mixing that up. I've heard people using like cinnamon and sugar, and yeah, I've never tried it, so I wanted to give it a shot. And you know, it works. It gives you this good, like, chunky texture, and yeah, it works really good. It was kind of hard to control a little bit. Like the brush would kind of just put on the paint. It wouldn't really hold the salt well. So I did a little bit by the brush, and if you weren't trying to be like super meticulous with this, I wanted to get it just around these bolts, because that's where like the rust would be. But if you were doing like a bigger area, this would be like fine. You could almost like trowel this stuff on. And so I even went to like using this little like pick scraper, like for like modeling, like sculpting clay and stuff. And I'm just trying to like scoop it and stick it on there. But yeah, I just kind of kept working it, and went slow. Made sure I got it like in the corners and the ridges, and even on the inside of those cut holes there. I really wanted it to be pretty rusty. The reference image, they're like really rusty. So yeah, I just kept putting that stuff on. So now we go through with some of that same paint here. I have a little bit of that paint left. Still has a little bit of the salt, but I'm not really trying to focus on getting like the salt mixture like on there. I'm just kind of using that base color to match the same color I put around the bolts here. And I'm just going through and I'm just adding some like wear marks, some rusted out marks on the sign. This will be like the base color, and then we'll add some lighter brown on top to make it look more like rust. So I just kind of go through. I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm just dabbing areas that I think, trying to match that picture. So here's some lighter brown mixed up with water, and what I do with this is I just kind of try to like put this on thick, and I just kind of go around and like dab these areas, and then it will naturally like run on its own, and it looks a little bit more like natural weathering. I paint this on top of every area that has that salt, that brown salt layer. This will go on top of all those spots. And if it's not running enough to your liking, then I go through with just water on my brush, and I just kind of dab that spot just to help it run a little bit more. So then I let that dry, and now I go in with a darker brown. I put a little bit of black in this brown, and now I can go through, and I'm just focusing on hitting a couple spots in the center of these rust marks, just to make it look like this is some really dark rusted metal in the middle. This is like the oldest areas of the metal that have been rusted, and just kind of adds another color. You get a good 3 or 4 different color, and that is it. So that's how those ended up looking. They look pretty rusted, pretty good, and I'm really happy with this sign, and I hope you guys make your own, and I will see you next time.